Episode 1. What are we calling it again? Do we have a name for it?
Well, we were going to say death is the finish line. But I think maybe we should leave that out for now and try to figure it out if we want to go with that.
We got Max Podcast, episode 1. So you're good to go whenever you're ready. Yeah, that's the camera you go to.
Right. This is the camera I go to.
Don't ever come to this camera.
Don't ever come to this camera. Yeah. What's up, guys? I'm going to put it out there right now. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I have some friends of mine that are in the room with me right now that, in addition to about what feels like several hundred other people, have encouraged me to get into a more creative space and begin creating more, not just operating my Instagram that a lot of you guys follow, DNA Mac 300, DNA Mac _300. And I am here to try to take some initiative and to share my story with people, because in the past, as I've shared my story of mental health, of addiction, shared my engagement and interaction in fashion and streetwear, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from a lot of people, and I tend to get really down on myself. I suffer from a lot of self-esteem issues, and I'm living with a lot of mental and emotional chemical imbalances, and I have the easiest time getting through them when I can share with other people, and I can share my experience, and I can connect with other people. This podcast is a way for me to do that over new platforms and to put out evergreen content that can be revisited by myself and by others, so that we can get through this stuff together. To give you guys a little background on what we're trying to do here on this podcast is I want to keep it light early on and talk to you guys about the stuff that a lot of people seem to be really interested in, that I'm interested in: streetwear, sneakers, fashion, things in and around St. Louis, music. But the larger portion of this will be catching you guys up on topics that are really important to me and that are really important to the people that have followed me and that are supportive of me. Just a lot of stuff in and around mental health and in and around substance abuse, recovery, mental and emotional wellness, suicide awareness, opiate addiction, that sort of thing. No topic is off limits. No topic is out of bounds. And I'm really thrilled to get this going. Bear with me. I don't really know what I'm doing, and I know that I will get better as this goes along. But this first episode, we're going to try to feel it out and have a fun conversation. I want to start this episode and every episode off with a little feature I call Fit Check. I want to let you guys know what I'm rocking, because I support a lot of local designers, a lot of international designers, a lot of small designers. As a representative of DNA downtown, we have a lot of really important brands in-house, and we support a lot of other designers in and around St. Louis and in and around the country. Something that fell into my lap yesterday via the mail from a close friend of mine in Chicago, my man Fresco runs a brand called Johnny Fresh, and this is a guy, Josh B. Fresh, who has been hyper supportive of me in all different ways, sharing, resharing, connecting with me, great conversations about everything from mental health and fashion. And I got a care package from him last night, and one of the pieces was this 5-panel with Fresco on it. The quality on it is crazy. Detailing, little tiny details like this pin are things that go a long way with brands. Things that I look for that stick out. As you can see, the racing flags. I don't wear 5 panels. I'm obsessed with this one. The next piece that Fresco sent me was just his kind of classic flagship tee. As you can see, it's got the Fresco branding right here, and the tag. This tag is my favorite part, actually. JohnnyFresh.com, life waits for no man. Now, that was very significant to me when I got this last night, because I really, I'm not a big on signs and symbols, but it was pretty appropriate that I found this the night before I actually decided to sit down and start talking to you guys. The quality on this tee is great. I actually had it on earlier, but I was so nervous, I was sweating through it. So I backed it off and wanted to show it to you guys, though. It's life waits for no man. And the back, I think, is really appropriate. You'll never make it out alive. Fresco gave me a really nice handwritten note, which means a lot to me, and some stickers. And I think that these small details are the things that separate guys that are really trying to do this fashion thing. Fit Check, in addition, the talentless sweats. Scott Disick is a genius in doing this kind of lackadaisical, lazy, kind of calm gear. And I had to break out episode 1, some major heat, the Atmos Elephants. I know that you guys are going to be excited to see what I have on feet, so I'm going to always do a little kick check. And then my last piece I want to rap about real quick is my man Rocco, OG Rocket, OG_Rocket with 2 T's on Instagram. Local guy who is doing really cool things with fitteds, with New Eras. And as you can see, we've seen this hustler done before, and we've seen it done poorly. I think that these joints right here are really something special. He does a lot of different designs. Go check him out. Put your order in. I just got mine yesterday, and I'm really happy with them. Now to start, getting my hands dirty and talk to you guys about what I'm really here for. I want to give you guys background about me so that you know exactly, what like I told you earlier, the purpose of this podcast actually is. I'm from U-City. I'm basically right outside St. Louis City. And at a very early age, I started struggling with a lot of mental and emotional disorders. As I move forward, you guys will hear the language that I use I'm living with. I don't believe that the way that mental health, what people consider to be disabilities or consider to be disorders, I don't believe those things to be taken in such a negative stride. And when I talk early on, I want you guys to know that, they're considered disorders. They're in DSM-5. They're diseases. Some of them are chemical imbalances that are taken very seriously. But when they are understood and whenever people learn to live with them properly, that's exactly what you're doing. You're living with. And I've come to learn that in doing a lot of things to educate myself on these things that I'm living with, that they can become superpowers as much as they can become super detriments. In 2nd grade, I was diagnosed with ADHD. At that point in time, I'm 34 years old. ADD was not a very popular thing, and it made me feel less than. For a large majority of my life, I felt uncomfortable in my own skin. ADD and ADHD were really difficult to deal with as a kid because I had to go take medicine. I had to get up at lunch and go take medicine with all the other kids that everybody thought were messed up one way, shape, form, or another. We got called retards. We got called all sorts of stuff. And the way that I received ADD, ADHD, and later on general anxiety disorder, clinical depression, and even then finding out, that I had type 2 bipolar and borderline personality disorder, those things and the medications and the therapy and the things that I need to feel normal, are things that we've seen over the years that normal people can also access and in my view, become super. Whereas I always felt so less than. I needed medication to just get to par, just to get normal. And that's something that I've written about a lot on my Instagram. A lot of you guys have read about that. And if you haven't, there's a lot of evergreen writing there for you guys to go check out. What got me to a place that I wanted to do a podcast? What got me here? At 32 years old, 2 years ago, 33, I was an operational director over a very large, very successful, independently owned and operated bar and restaurant group called 1000 Spruce. There's Wheelhouse, Start Bar, Midwestern. Prior to that, I had gotten sober in 2013, and leading into 2013, I'd been VIP manager, promotional manager, marketing director, bartender, events coordinator for a ton of different bars and clubs and restaurants in the service industry in St. Louis. I had established a really popular reputation. I was really well liked. I was really well known. And when I got sober in 2013 and came back into the service industry with my friends to open this insanely successful restaurant group, I became somewhat of a icon for style, an icon for mental health, an icon for leadership in the downtown entertainment industry. And it was something I really prided myself on. It was something that meant a lot to me. I had a lot of people that asked me for advice. I had a lot of people that reached out to me for help. And when I actively worked my recovery program, I was as happy, healthy, and successful in nearly every realm of my life as I possibly could have imagined. I let my lifestyle kind of get out of control, and about 3 years in 2016, 2017, I relapsed. Lucky for me at the time, I knew that recovery worked. I knew that sobriety worked, and I got back into recovery. I went to detox. I got sober again, and I had another successful 3-4 year run. One of the things I think is really important to point out about mental health and about sobriety is that when you get sober, your life gets a lot better, but eventually it becomes the same as everyone else's. No matter how good you do, no matter how hard you work, no matter how emotionally stable you might be, life on life's terms will happen to you. And what I mean by that is there are things that you can't control happening to you. Bad things. People die, car accidents, money losses, injuries, chemical imbalances that flare up, changes in medication, relationship losses, people hurting you. There are things that are out of everyone's control. This is something that I wasn't prepared for. I thought that once I got sober, everything that I'd done that was bad was now gone, and that the rest of my life was going to be perfect as long as I stayed sober. I stopped doing the mental and emotional work. I didn't work with a psychiatrist or psychologist. I stopped taking my meds for ADHD. I didn't know that I was bipolar. I didn't know that I was borderline personality disorder. I got really comfortable and I stopped going to meetings. I stopped calling my sponsor. I stopped doing a lot of the things that had gotten me all of the gifts that I had, that I'd been given through all of this hard work that I'd done. And what ended up happening was, along with my ego getting out of control, a lot of fear crept into my life. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of my own potential, worrying about imposter syndrome, worrying that I wasn't enough. My self-worth and value issues are way deeper rooted than I ever thought. My anger issues are way deeper than I ever thought. I have repressed memories, insecurities that I didn't know that were running rampant in my life, that were essentially changing the way that I was behaving because I wasn't addressing them. About 2 years ago, I was in an exceptionally wonderful relationship. I had a great relationship with my family. I had what I believed to be a great relationship with my career and the people that I worked with. I had a solid group of friends that I loved dearly, and I started keeping secrets. I started lying. I started manipulating, and out of fear that I was going to be exposed, I really, unbeknownst to myself at the time, self-sabotaged my entire life. I lost my career. I hurt a lot of people that were extremely important to me. And in hurting them in the manner that I did, I lost them. Being a part of Spruce Street and being a part of that downtown community, I felt like whenever I lost my career and kind of crashed and burned emotionally, that I felt like I lost 3,000 friends. I felt like I lost a family and a community and a neighborhood that spanned over thousands of people. I had no idea how much of my identity was tied to DNA Mac, was tied to Wheelhouse Mac, was tied to Sober Mac. I did not understand that one of the things that the only thing that people love more than a rise to glory is a fall from grace. And I realized just recently that more of that has been in my head than has been the actual reality of it. But it took me till now to figure that out. And I've spent the last 2 years of my life trying to rebuild, trying to make it make sense, trying to make it have been worth it. And I have not done a good job. I have struggled in my personal relationships. I continued to lie and keep secrets and image manage for a long time. I've isolated. I've watched bridges get burned by other people. I've burned bridges, and I've allowed a lot of abuse and a lot of mistreatment of myself, and I've been abusive, and I've mistreated a lot of people that I really care about. This podcast is the beginning of my public documentation of the journey to becoming a person that I'm proud of again. When I first started going to therapy, I made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to lie. As a kid growing up, every therapist I saw, I ran around in circles. My mom would show up to pick me up, and the therapist would go, well, he knows everything that he's done. He knows what's going on. He's just choosing not to do shit. That was never the case. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. But I did know how to make it seem like I did. I spent most of my life switching myself up like a social chameleon and priding myself on social adaptability, that I could connect and communicate with anyone, anywhere, anyhow, anytime. I could meet you where you were at, and I could be a version of myself that you needed. What that left me with was, when I got home, my identity was so fragmented I didn't know who the hell I was when I was alone. So I spent all of my time trying to interact with other people. All of my self-worth, all of my value, my entire identity was linked to any and every relationship that I had, other than the one that I had with myself, which was non-existent. This podcast is, in addition to documentation of me trying to make this progress and trying to share it with you guys and bring you guys along, this podcast is also for me. It's a journal, it's a diary, and it's a way for me to dissect, pull apart, open up, share, really get vulnerable, really be transparent. Not just a 160 character tweet, not just an Instagram caption that I have to keep chopping down to get it shorter and shorter so that people actually read it. Not a home run photo by one of my talented friends, but as cliche as this sounds, this is as raw and as uncut as it's going to get for me publicly. And I really can't wait to continue to share with you guys about it. As I lost what felt like an entire life over the last 2 years, I tried to make it worth it by building a life that I just recently lost as well. And now what I'm left with is all of this support that I had been ignoring from so many different people. And I'm finally, in doing this podcast and in beginning to write my book, and in beginning to journal, and in beginning to kind of more curate what I'm putting out on Instagram, and in beginning what I'm kind of trying to curate and put out to the general public, I'm trying to honor that support. I'm trying to honor that encouragement that's come from so many of my close friends that have said, bro, anytime you open your mouth, you have an impact on people. It's really hard for me to believe that. But I am trying to have trust and have faith and believe that these people that I respect and that I care about so much are telling me the truth, and that this is actually worth it, not just for me to do for myself, but that it's worth it for me to do to have an impact on other people. I don't think that this episode needs to go in any more depth or any more detail. I want to encourage everybody to please reach out with any feedback. I want anybody to ask any and every question they can possibly think of that they want to hear me talk about. If you guys want me to get into nitty-gritty details about things that have happened that have led up to this point, I'm happy to do that. I really want to open myself up so that I can start getting in touch with those people that are struggling in the same places that I am. And I really want to get to that place where we can start bringing in guests, and you guys can start getting a more formal education on the things that you might be struggling with. And I want to show everybody the rest of my sneakers, obviously. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope that this was a good start. If it wasn't, I'll break everything and throw everything away and start it all over. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I really love everybody. Peace and love.